Thank you so much for being here today. It is so wonderful to have you here, Morgane. It's been so wonderful to get to know you. It is clear that women's economic security is one of your passions. It's one of my passions, and it is a major focus of the Women's Fund. And so this is going to be a really fun conversation. Let's just get started. Let's go.
I want to thank you first to give me the privilege to be here today. This is a wonderful organization that you're part of. And I want to thank everyone in the audience, friends, family, community leaders, every single one of you, young ladies, to participate in this beautiful fundraiser. I think you do an amazing job, and we need more of those. So thank you.
Thank you, Morgane. Thank you. Well, let's get started. Here we go. It is clear that women are a driving force in our economy. So how do we see this playing out broadly? How do we see this playing out broadly?
So we have to just recognize first that for the last decade, we have just made huge strides. And this is due to three important factors: higher education, starting businesses, and inheriting wealth. Those are the three main factors that just had us women jumpstart in our finances. Higher education, so many more young ladies are now getting college degrees than they used to. More ladies than gentlemen, actually. We also have businesses. I was impressed. I think I know a lot. The more I know, I realize I know the least. Actually, half of the businesses in the US are now owned by women business owners. I was like, wow, that was good. And then we have this great new thing. You're going to be hearing a lot about it. We are in it now. It's called the generational transfer of wealth. So guess what? We live longer, longevity. So we're inheriting from our male counterparts, and we are inheriting from, some of us are, well, not quite yet, but my husband is, boomers as well. So there is all that money coming into play that we're responsible for. So those are the big things at a global level. But I want to bring it back to home. I just want to tell a little story, Christine, about that I think illustrate those three chapters. And I learned recently about it. Once upon a time, and this is not a fairy tale, there was this young woman, Anna, that moved into the Monterey Peninsula. She started cleaning medical practices. She then went to go work in a food truck. She actually really enjoyed serving good food and giving good service. So from there, what does she decide? She buys her first food truck, and then a second one. And she starts this business with her husband, with her son, and with the help, because that's the point, the key point. You need help. It takes a village, not only from your family, but from outside resources. And in this case, it was actually Guadalupe Soria, who is here someplace, I think, over there. If she is, she should stand up, I'm not sure. But there you are. She is the one that helped Anna through this business. And now Anna's business, Tacos El Jerry, they have 19 trucks. They're this really successful, and that would not happen if it wasn't for our small business bankers. So our small business bankers, or commercial bankers, sorry, Hiram and Cherry, Bank of America. But this is the big difference that it takes. It's the village that really makes things happen.
Absolutely. I mean, we see that all the time, especially for women, having mentors, having support, women lifting other women up. But that financial support and education is key to the access to those resources. So I want to talk a little bit more from all the data that you just shared. It really seems that women are owning their financial future. Can you share a little bit more about this, and what does that look like exactly?
Sure. So one thing to keep in mind, I read a lot of research on that. Not that much fun. But of all women that have business banking accounts, and I'm sorry, just checking accounts, and to all the young ladies that don't, please do. That's a great start. But they are willing to work with a financial advisor. And that's very important. You need, because we don't know it all. When I started, I knew very little. And none of us, we don't come born with the knowledge, right? So 2/3 of women are willing to work with a financial advisor. Out of those 2/3, and now I need to look at all my numbers. Oh, and this is how great this organization is. Originally, I had those little Post-it notes with print that I couldn't read. Look what they did to me. It's amazing. So what happens now is the vast majority of those women, they are doing what? Retirement accounts. 2/3 of them do. Not as many men start having retirement accounts. And whether it's individual or through your corporation, that starts the process of investing in yourself. Another very interesting thing that I found out is, although most of those women do have retirement accounts, not all of them have investment accounts. And that just shows we still have progress. We are doing a lot, but there is still a lot more that we can do. And to finalize, I just want to say that we are doing this great progress. Like we said, education, opening businesses, getting, wealth transferred to us. Now we need to find out, what do we do with it? How do we put those assets best to work?
Great, thank you so much. So you work with women who are in many different life stages. It seems like there's different considerations for each stage in life. So what advice would you give for the younger women, the women who are just getting started in their careers, so they can set up the foundation for financial security?
Number one advice, confidence. Believe in yourself. Fake it till you make it. You just need to actually, when you go get your first job, don't take the one that looks the easiest. Don't believe that you're not going to be able to get something else because someone better can do it, because they actually have a better degree, or because they're a man, they're going to get it before. No, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Take those shots. Believe in yourself. And that is the second thing, though, and that's the financial advisor in me now. If you're a young lady, when you get your first paycheck, or a young man, please open a Roth IRA. If you guys don't know what it is, go find someone, anyone, they will guide you to it. 2 pieces of advice: believe in yourself, open a Roth IRA.
Absolutely, absolutely. My daughter, Addie, who is 20, has her job, and that's what she's doing this week. Thank you. So also, I just have to say the importance of memory and mentoring. Women supporting women sharing, educating, opening doors, getting that first foot in is so important. It's a big part of what we believe at the Women's Fund, and that's what I'm hearing you say. Mentoring is key. Getting information is key.
Mentoring is key. We don't know. We need to network, and it can start just with mothers, sisters, with your classmates, with your career mates. We not only need to look for it, because sometimes we're just too busy into what we're doing, but we're interacting with someone, and it doesn't matter where we're at. You see someone you admire, just ask for them help. Just spend more time with them. Mentoring is what, and on the opposite side, if we feel we know it all, none of us do, we want to spread the love. Pick someone and help them, guide them to find the next best thing.
Great, thank you, Morgane. So we've learned a lot in our community listening circles at the Community Foundation about having good credit to access housing. And housing is a real issue here in Monterey County. Can you speak about the importance of building a good credit score and share some tips?
Yes, and this is not because I'm a woman. Get a credit card. That's key. Do pay off your credit card every month. But that's how you will build your credit. At some point in time, any young woman will want to buy a car, or like you say, rent an apartment. And if you don't have a credit score, you don't get the same opportunities. So it goes back to basics, opening your checkings, your savings, your Roth IRA, and getting a credit card that you pay off. Do not get in debt unless it's good debt, but that's another conversation.
Yes, that's another conversation. All right, on to the next phase. We're going to talk about the midlife phase. Women who are rising in their careers, getting married, having partners, and maybe also raising a family. What advice do you have for women at this phase?
Well, as Erin mentioned, I'm a prime example of that. I was working in the fashion industry. It sounds a lot more glamorous. I was a store manager for Banana Republic, so. But as a French girl working in the fashion industry, ended up having 3 kids in 4 years. It looked like 4 kids in 3 years. But yeah, barefoot and pregnant, and we moved to Canada on top of that. I still managed to work the first 2 years. I had both Jared and Margot were born within 15 months. I still worked at my job, but Steve, my husband, got promoted to go to Canada, and I couldn't work there until I realized, wow, taking care of kids is actually sometimes harder than working. But it did great. And being in Canada, I was like, okay, does it make sense getting my residency, my permit, and whatnot? And I decided to embrace. We could afford to do it. And I wish all women could have the choice that I had. I recognize I was very lucky. I have many friends that never had the choice to stay at home. But I did, and I loved it so much, I ended up staying at home for 15 years. And it was not Oprah and bonbons. It was a lot of, you get involved into your kids' activities, fundraisers. You end up doing a lot for the schools that you work on. But the gist of the whole story, what we're getting to is after 15 years, we're back here. We're in Carmel, Monterey. Steve's actually managing this hotel right here. And it happens that they sold the hotel and they wanted to move us. And we had 3 kids in high school. And we're like, we don't want to move 3 kids that are in high school, a freshman, junior, senior. But we need benefits. I mean, we're a family. So we're looking at each other, and I told Steve, I was like, I haven't worked in 15 years, but I think I can do it. And so I started looking at ads, and barista Starbucks, great benefits. I was going to bag groceries at a Safeway, again, great benefits. And then friends told me, it's like, wait, why are you selling yourself for that? I mean, it's a great starting point for anyone at any time, but you can do more. That takes a lot of confidence. And the confidence that I'm telling everyone to have when they're first starting, they should have it again when they start that second chapter. And I saw that Merrill was hiring at the time, and it was a total different language to me. And I was like, well, if I can manage a household, I can manage a school PTO, I can manage, all the team sports. Who says I cannot manage, a financial team? There we are.
Absolutely. I know our president and CEO loves to hire women, especially mothers, because he knows that we can manage all these things and all the people and get it done. So absolutely, bravo. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I have to say I had a similar story. I was out of the workforce for a little bit, very lucky when my daughters were born. When I went back in, I was applying for a job, and the CEO at that point said, no, you're applying at this level. we see you at this level. And she encouraged me to apply for that director level job, which I did get. But at the time, I didn't think, that was for me. And so without that support, without that encouragement, I wouldn't have been to where I am today, honestly. Also, I was very fortunate to have good quality childcare. I was living in New York at that time. It was hard to afford, but we were able to do it. Lack of quality childcare in Monterey County is a real issue. And I'm just telling you all right now. I'm going to read some stats if I can see them without my glasses. There are only 9,200 slots available for the 36,000 children under 5 in this county. Childcare costs an average of $10,000 a year. And so this is just unattainable, unaffordable for many families. And most families can't get by without both parents working. So I just want to acknowledge it is a privilege, but it is also a challenge to be working and have quality childcare here.
It is. It's a struggle.
Yeah. So back to this midlife phase, what gets most overlooked? What should women be focusing on?
So there's one thing. When you're coming back to work, like Erin said, you can reinvent yourself. Childcare is an issue. We do have corporations here in the peninsula that offer amazing services. Look for companies that do provide those services. That's very important. Also, you want to look for networks around you. There is many of those within the community foundation, amongst others, but also in your different schools, in libraries of many places. Work on, at that point in time as well, I would say, that's the financial person in me, goals-based planning. Whatever you're doing, whatever is hard, take a little bit and decide what is important to you, what matters the most. And that's what you want to focus on. So childcare, it takes a village. Elder care, it takes a village. Getting a job, look for someone that matches what you are needing. Really prioritize what your goals are at the time. Try to stay out of debt, unless it's good debt. And start planning. You're at that midlife. Start thinking about, trusts and wills, because something could happen to you at any time. You're in your midlife, but that's not to say that tomorrow you're not gone. So keep an eye. I'm sorry, I'm dark.
Well, I just completed my will and trust. My attorney is here, and it gives me the peace of mind that my family will be protected. It's so important. It is so important. It's not a dark topic. It's a positive. Yes.
So yeah, those really are what I really think what we call our midlifers, although those advices go for all stages of life, really.
Absolutely, and I know we want to keep on track here. So retirement, what should women be considering as they're in their retirement years?
In retirement years, you've worked really hard, or suddenly you've inherited something you didn't even know, because unfortunately, years past, a lot of the clients we now have find out they were never involved in the planning process. So again, surround yourself with knowledgeable people, whether it's your financial advisors, your banks, your CPAs, your estate lawyers. Have utilized the village that we have access to. That money was hard earned. Take a little bit less risk. You're starting to decumulate. So be a little bit more conservative if you need those funds to be used. But we have to say some of us are lucky enough, well, not yet, some women are lucky enough that they can still get those sources of income, and maybe their goal is not to utilize those funds. It's actually a legacy. It can be a philanthropy, but that's where we need help. We need to learn and know more about it. So in the later stages, I would say the main things is there is always volatility. If you need those funds, obviously be more conservative into what you have. have a good plan, and I go back, wills and trusts.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Morgane. So another question about women and leadership, and how does that affect the performance of a company? And what are all the overall benefits to the bottom line having women leaders in a company?
So I read about 4 different reports that were pretty amazing on themselves. So the first thing I told everyone is I was very surprised to find out that half of the businesses in our country were actually women-owned, which I did not know. But the one thing that I loved was I looked at startups results, and all startups that are led by women are on average 10% more successful than startups led by men, with only half the funding. Somehow they still get to have twice as much funding as we do. And we get better businesses. That was another one. A different survey showed that companies with higher gender diversity in their boards tend to outperform by 15%, higher returns, and 50% lower earnings risk. I'm not going to do a little things there. It just shows to our nature of nurturing and caring, we tend to be a little bit less aggressive, which actually does serve well in this case. We know when to take risk and how to take risk. I love the Credit Suisse report that shows that a higher proportion of women in management constantly give better share performance. And a study from Vanguard that shows funds, managed funds, mutual funds, that's something everyone would get. So mutual funds where portfolio analysts have 50% or more women in their make actually tend to outperform the benchmark, whereas those same funds that are 100% male, they underperform the benchmark. So those are pretty strong points. We rock.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely rock. All right, let's just jump ahead a little bit. So what are some of the barriers that women still face? Let's just get real here and lay it out.
Number one is finding the time to do it all. That's the big thing. We own the world, we want the world, but we also carry the world and we'll want to take care of the world. So, and again, it's the last time I'm going to go to numbers with that, but I would say, I'm actually forgetting about the numbers. Those are not that important. What I think really should happen is we need to take the time to work on that. Only 1/3 of the women actually said they were comfortable with the plans they made. 2/3 are not. And the ones 2/3 that didn't make it, you ask them, why don't you feel comfortable with your plan? And they will say, because I just don't have the time. I need to take care of my kids. I need to take care of my family. I don't have time to invest in myself. I don't have the time to learn more. I don't have the time to do anything. And it becomes that constant struggle there. And that's the big thing. It's the matter. So it's how do you take ownership of yourself and actually you create the time to do it all. That's the biggest barrier. It's time.
Absolutely. And that's what we see too. Finding the time to take care of yourself, your family, your work, and then women, supporting women. There's lots of creative ideas in that, you know, while you're with your friends or with your other moms groups, talking about investment clubs. There's great support systems out there.
I had so much fun a couple of years ago, last year. A lot of companies have financial literacy programs. I mean, Bank of America is one of them. But we would do financial literacy at the Steinbeck Library. and you just go there and you teach everyone a little bit about, what to do and not to do, and the kids are in a play group reading books.
Yeah.
And so, and that can be done, during your playtime with your kids. You can learn more about it. It can also be done at work. You have to find companies that embrace that culture and that do help you develop.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about the opportunities overcoming some of the barriers that women face?
It goes back to the learning part. I know it's hard to find the time to learn, but it's out there. You just need to reach out for it. That's the big thing. A lot of, and if you don't have it in the jobs that you have your networks, you have the different foundations, you have the friends. It just goes back to the village. It's like, trust the power of us here together. That's what we really need to do.
Wonderful. Thank you, Morgane. So let's just talk a little bit more about leadership, authentic leadership. It's something we've talked about a lot. You and I have talked about this. Friends and colleagues, we're always talking about this. As women, what can that look like in the workplace?
We talked a little bit earlier about finding help. So, the mentoring and the whatnot, but how do you get there? So a couple of tips that I would say, besides listening, which you all are doing wonderfully, is actually listening and picking up the little breadcrumbs that you listen to. That's very important. Picking up those breadcrumbs will give you a better story about the person you're listening to, and that brings them into stage. And I would love to have you all here at the stage. And that means you're showing empathy, you're caring. There is no relationship unless there is trust. And to have trust, as a leader, what do we need to do? We need to be transparent, we need to be honest, we need to be vulnerable. No one is really going to respect us unless they know that we are our true selves. That's what I strongly believe on. So be strong, be vulnerable at the same time, listen to people, promote empathy, and that's what, to me, is that authentic self that creates a leader.
That's fantastic. And I also just have to say, yes, we can keep moving forward. We can keep pushing forward, but we also need to take care of ourselves. Without safety and support in the workplace, we really can't be our authentic self. So you will know and you will see if you have that safety and support, and then you can really show up as the leader you are meant to be and allow others to also.
That's how I found out. We've known each other for a whole, couple of weeks?
Yeah, a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks now.
And yet, guess what? I found out we're both going to go through surgery.
Next week.
We both have children the same age.
Same ages, yes.
She's opening a Roth-IRA for her daughter. Well, her daughter is opening the Roth-IRA.
Yeah.
But no, so this is part of being vulnerable, never do not tell your story, because you find someone that has so many commonalities and you just make our power stronger.
Absolutely. Thank you. And to add to that, the elder, caring for aging parents is also another burden that women disproportionately face. Let's talk about women in philanthropy. The data is clear. Women are a growing force of good. Women's philanthropy is. The latest trends show that more women give collaboratively and strategically. The focus is often on causes that support women and girls, such as education, reproductive health, and also equity in the workplace. More purpose-driven philanthropy. Many female philanthropists embrace working collaboratively, such as in giving circles and women funds, where giving together can have a greater impact. What trends do you see with your clients and their giving?
So I heard that just 2 days ago. I thought it was amazing. Last year, 1 in 4 Americans received an inheritance, and the inheritance averaged over $400,000. Now, think about the fact, and this goes back to that generational wealth transfer. And no, I did not get anything last year. I was part of the other three. But we have funds that we didn't really want or expect. We also know we're nurturing, we're giving. And we know that too much is too much. And we know we want to make a difference. And that's where philanthropy or giving, women just tend to give more, whether it's your time or money or assets or anything. And this is what I really think it's important, because we will have more opportunities to do that and excel at it, because it's just so happened that we will have bigger purses.
Absolutely. And I have to say, women at many different stages of life, time, volunteering, mentoring, providing that seat at the table so other women can have a voice. Philanthropy looks different in many of our different communities as well. But I want to wrap it up by just saying, Melinda Gates, this is a great quote: "When money flows into the hands of women who have the authority to use it, everything changes for women, their families, and communities."
I think it's a beautiful quote. I mean, she was an amazing woman. And now what I would like you all to do is to look to the person to your right. Everyone, look to the person to your right in the eyes and just tell them, "You are amazing." Oh, you're right and left. Thank you. Too many trips. Everyone, you are amazing.
Morgane, you are amazing. You are amazing. Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing your time, your talent, and your treasure. Thank you.